Welcome everybody to uSTADIUM Fantasy Live Week 13 edition. With me is the Parlay Prince himself, Mr. Stefan Bersh Bombs. How's it going, big guy?
It's going good. It's week 13. We got some good matchups. It's almost playoff. We got 2 weeks before playoffs, so it's getting to the nitty gritty. It's getting down to the wire.
Yeah, it is. A big week for a lot of fantasy managers out there. It's make or break for some of y'all. So we're excited to bring you the news or the information to help you make the lineup adjustments and moves that you're going to need to make to win your week. There's just we got a couple key outs here. You can see it. We're going to be scrolling it along the bottom. Jalen Hurts is out for today with the ankle injury. Daniel Jones is out. Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney both out. Allen Robinson is out. Dalvin Cook, of course, is out. DeAndre Swift is out. David Johnson's most likely out. J.D. McKissick out. Darren Waller out. Deebo Samuel out. Melvin Gordon out. So I know, Stefan, you were excited for Javonte's season, brother. I know you're
all
hyped
week.
up. We've been calling it for a long time. This is the week. This is the week. This is finally the week. Even though last week he had a great turnout, but this is the week I think he's pretty much going to carry the whole workload.
He's going nuclear this week. It's lucky number 13. We manifested for how many weeks? This is what I've been waiting for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We got a special guest for you guys today. Before we get to that, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, download the uSTADIUM app. Takes is live. Stefan, I know you got a fire take for Javonte. You wanna refresh the memories, steer the people towards that take so they can make some points or lose some points, but ultimately make some points. What is your take you got on there right now with Javonte?
It looks like people are starting to buy the other way in. I've got Javonte this week as the RB1 of the week.
Woo!
I know Madison goes against Detroit. I know there's a lot of lineups. This is, like I said, this is the week. Twitter has been nothing. And listen, we're not praising, an injury, Melvin Gordon get better.
Of course.
But this is what we wait for as fantasy owners. Like 13 weeks later, this is when he goes nuclear. He's going to go off. And I'm just so excited. It's on prime time. It's the only game I get to just watch him run the ball and just watch him just go through that Chiefs defense like it's nothing.
If it doesn't happen, we need to put a watch on for Stefan. Make sure we're checking in every hour because it's not going to be good. So let's get to our guest. Let's not keep the people waiting. Let's not keep him waiting. uSTADIUM fans, this week, our guest hails from Buffalo, a member of the Bills Mafia, writer for Yards Per Fantasy and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, co-host of the Fantasy Football Playmakers Podcast, member of the prestigious Sports Writers Association, and unfortunately, at least last night, UGA fan, Jeremy Popielarz. Jeremy, how's it going, brother? Welcome to the U. We're excited to have you, man.
I'm excited to be on. If Javonte's RB1, you'll probably have to put a watch out on for me because I'll probably be partying and running the streets of Buffalo. So I'm excited. I am excited for Javonte week. I literally was just talking on the Playmakers a little bit before this. Like, what is his value if he doesn't do that? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's expecting it, and we want it.
Hype is real, man. The
and
hype is real this week for sure.
Like, if it doesn't, I'll just be disappointed.
I think the whole world gets disappointed because everywhere on Twitter I've seen Javonte this, Javonte that, and if he doesn't do what we expect him to do, he's gonna break so many hearts in so many lineups. But you know what? I'm not bringing that negativity into this room. It's going to be the nuclear week. That's my keyword of the day, nuclear for Javonte Williams.
Don't you put that evil on Javonte, right?
I hope so. I'm in a couple, like you said, 6-6 teams, need the wins. I have them. So,
yeah.
I got him and Antonio Gibson rolling, and I'm like, all right, I'm doing
This is going to be the best time for them. This is the time.
Like the combo. I got some questions for you. I'm sure Stefan's got some questions for you. But before we get to our questions, let's get to the people that matter the most, the viewers. Let's answer some questions from them. Kevin Clark, play 3 out of Adam Thielen, Davonte Smith, Michael Pittman, and Damian Harris. We know for sure that Hurts is out. Which 3 do you guys like the most in this combination?
I think Davonte Smith, honestly, I hate to say it, has a better week this week with Gardner Minshew, more of a passer. Michael Pittman's one of my biggest sleepers of the week. I think he's had a slump of the last 2 games. And the third one, I'm gonna have to go Thielen. You can't take away what Thielen does. Like, he's just a machine each and every game. So those are the 3 that I would go with.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it easy. I'll just agree.
Thielen's
too hard to bench right now. I mean, I didn't necessarily like him last week, and he came out and scored touchdowns again, a machine. Yep. I agree. Davonte Smith could definitely have that same narrative. Gardner Minshew's definitely more of a gunslinger. And Michael Pittman, I like against Houston. Damian Harris is kind of a sleeper. It's supposed to be pretty rainy and nasty up here tomorrow, so he's a little bit of a sleeper, but I just think the upside of the other 3 is much higher. So
yeah, I agree there. Thanks, Kevin Clark. Holding Cantor, play 2 PPR league, Darnell Mooney versus Arizona, Claypool versus Baltimore, Sony Michel versus Jacksonville. It doesn't look like Darrell is going to play. He's a true game time decision. I haven't got any news on Darrell Henderson yet, but if I'm picking 2, I'm going Mooney and Claypool here.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off of that. It's kind of hard to go Michelle. Even if Henderson plays, you don't really know what he's really gonna do. We have an expectation what he's gonna do, but I think this is more of a passing game for the Rams this week. So I'm gonna hop on that bandwagon of Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool.
I'm gonna be similar. I'll take Darnell Mooney as well. I think against Arizona, he's just proven without Robinson or with him, he's a machine, whether it's Fields or Dalton. He's just great at getting open and produces big plays. I mean, if he goes over 100, it's like 130. So he just has all his big games are the exact same stats. So I'll take that and hope for it. But I'm going to actually take Sony Michel, especially if Henderson doesn't play. I just like that offense against Jacksonville. I know we saw the Bills kind of play down to the Jaguars, but I think the Rams need to get a get-right game going.
Yes.
And I think Sony Michel will have a chance to find the end zone. OBJ's a little banged up, so even if he plays, what's his role? So I'll risk that. I just don't trust Claypool. I think it's supposed to be pretty nasty.
True.
In that game as well. And Roethlisberger hasn't been Big Ben of the past, so.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, there's a report that came out that he's been telling teammates and people in Pittsburgh that it might be his last year in Pittsburgh, at least, right? So
yeah, not too surprised.
Not looking good. Weather update: it is cold and rainy in Chicago. Rain should continue throughout the afternoon from Shed Sports. Thank you, Shed Sports. Best Asian ever. Start 1 at flex: Davonte Smith, T. Higgins, or Sony Michel.
Oof.
Some good options there.
I'm torn between Smith and Higgins. I'm not trying to be a hater for Michelle either. I just don't really know what his role is right now. I want to go with Davonte Smith. I mean, I love Higgins. I loved him in the draft. I got him in a lot of leagues. But I really think this is the week that the Eagles pass offense just comes alive. Because last week was oh my, I can't find a word to just describe last week. I mean, Dallas Goddard had 1 catch for 0 yards. Davonte Smith did with nothing. Jalen Reagor did nothing. This has to be the week that they get back. It's a bounce back game. I think Minshew just slings the ball at least 30 times. So I've got to go with Davonte Smith on this one.
Yeah, I think I agree. We saw, for example, we'll use Denver's game against the Chargers. I mean, all those wide receivers had 4 PPR points. So the Chargers are really good against the pass. I know that Davonte Smith only has Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew's career stats aren't terrible. He's definitely been a viable quarterback, and he's made people fantasy viable. So I'll take Davonte Smith. I think just against the Jets, it's a little bit of a better matchup, and the talent to me is very similar in Davonte Smith and T. Higgins, so it's not a drop-off.
And isn't the weather in the entire Northeast supposed to be just bad weather, right? It's kind of screaming out run game this week for all those Northeast teams.
Yeah.
So
a lot of Joe Mixon. I think some of the linemen are hurt in Cincinnati, so they might not necessarily drop back and throw as much. So
Right.
at least deep shots. So, and that's where I feel like Chase and Boyd might have a good game, but T. Higgins might struggle a little.
Thank you for the question. Dane Sauter, I got lots of buys, so I'm starting Pittman, Deontay Johnson, James Robinson, Jamal Williams, George Kittle, and Logan Thomas as my flex. I mean, it's not a bad starting lineup. I know James Robinson is a game-time decision. Jamal Williams is going to have no DeAndre Swift, so he should see a nice workload. Kittle's a stud. And then, I mean, starting 2 tight ends is never the most
It's not, but Kittle being like that flex sounds like if you put like Logan Thomas at your tight end 1 and then Kittle at your flex, I know it doesn't make a difference, but to me, I feel like better about it because it just looks nicer. But it's still like it's weird. Like last year I had like in a league Kittle and I had Waller, and like everyone's like, why are you starting 2 tight ends to your flex and your tight end? I'm like, watch, and that's what happens. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but like if that's what you got, and that's a pretty damn good team, so like you can't really go wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, Logan Thomas is pretty much a wide receiver in Washington.
Yep.
I mean, there was an ample amount of time for these guys to step up. No one did. So Thomas is now back healthy, and
Taylor Heineke likes to throw too.
Yeah, Taylor Heineke likes to throw to him. He's a big body. He's athletic. So I don't hate it. I mean, you're probably capping your upside. You know what I mean? Like, there's no he's probably not going to get you 30 points, which a wide receiver might be able to. But I mean, it's not a bad play. I mean, there's spots I have Thomas starting as a flex because of the same thing. Injuries, bye weeks. It's getting tight.
It is getting tight. Holding Cantor, Van Jefferson versus Jacksonville or Hollywood Brown versus Pittsburgh. I like Hollywood in this spot. I know the weather's supposed to be iffy, but in the standard league, I think Hollywood Brown's just going to go off versus Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know what's Van Jefferson's like value for you guys. Like he had that one game, last week, but it was like that one where like a poor tackle leads to a 60-yard touchdown. Like, is he really going to be that guy? Or is he just a guy that we think every week he's going to be, oh, this is his week, and then he just ends up disappointing? I don't even know what his value is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen it. I believe I looked at it this morning because someone brought up a question like this to me this morning really early, and I was like, Van Jefferson, why are you even comparing? I think it was Van Jefferson to like Davonte Smith, and I'm like, doesn't really seem right. And then like I was looking at it, but I mean, he's had 6 to 7 targets over the last 5 or 6 weeks. Like, I mean, he's involved in the offense, but like you said, I mean, his touchdown dependency is really like a big play. He doesn't get it near the goal line because they either run or it's like Cooper Kupp or OBJ or Higbee. So like he kind of just is like a big play touchdown machine. So for me, standard, I'm going to stay with Hollywood. I just think he's more involved in that offense in different roles. He's still that field stretcher like Jefferson kind of, but he also sees a little bit more underneath work. So
yeah, Marquise gets a steady dose of targets. Past 4 games, 14, 12, 13, and 10. So he's, like you said, definitely very involved in that offense. Can we get a Bateman nuclear week? Steph, are you calling a Bateman nuclear week, buddy?
I want one. Javonte Williams, Rashad Bateman, and you know what? I'm not gonna say nuclear because it is again a poor weather game. I think he has a better game every week. I don't know if it's gonna be this year. I mean, I want to. I love the guy. He's a great player. He's got the athletic ability, but he might be one of those guys that comes into next year as the guy. Because right now Hollywood's getting what you said almost. That's 35 targets in 3 games. That's insane. Yeah. That's crazy. So I think. Sorry, Splash. I do, I love the guy, but I can't say nuclear because that's the word of the week, but like I think he has like a floor of 12 points, maybe like 5-6 catches, 60, 70 yards. But that defense in Pittsburgh is still pretty good, and that weather to me is very scary because when it's cold, windy, raining, snowing, they just want to hand off the ball to their running backs. That's Lamar Jackson. They got Tyson Williams. You got who knows who's going to run the ball in that offense, but I hope for it every week, but I just don't want to go on that bandwagon because I've been wrong a lot, and that dream I had never came true. So
yet.
Yeah.
It's a key word there, yet.
Yeah,
not this week,
exactly. But still a dream. Mikey B, wide receivers pick 3: Keenan Allen, Jalen Waddle, Terry McLaurin. I was gonna say Tamorian.
Thought it was gonna be great.
Yeah. Most of us did. Or Brendan Ayuk. I like Keenan Allen's going to be a sleeve game for him, so I'm expecting a big day. Jalen Waddle. Or man, it's tough between Waddle and Ayuk for me. But Terry McLaurin is definitely a plug and play a guy there. So I think I'm going to go Allen, Terry, and Ayuk. Just with the Debo absence, I think Ayuk's going to have a great day for the 49ers.
I think I'll just go Ayuk, Waddle, and Terry. I don't hate Keenan Allen. I love the sleeve game. I love when like the James Jones had like the hoodie game. Like I like those, but it like I said, it's that weather to me. It's almost like an injury. I just don't trust it because it's gonna be cold, and if it's windy there, you can't really put the spiral on the ball like you want. You can't place it how a quarterback would if there was no like weather conditions. So Waddle, Terry, and Ayuk are the ones I'm going with.
I like Keenan Allen. Kind of why you're afraid of him almost. Like I feel like he peruses the underneath areas there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's PPR, like I think he sees the big game again more than Mike Williams will. And I don't know if they're going to necessarily sit there and just hand the ball off to Austin Eckler all the time. Because Herbert has a pretty good, strong arm. So I think they might still at least attempt to make those throws. So I would still roll Keenan Allen. And I'm going to go Allen, Waddle, just because he's been so explosive lately. Yeah, I know Davonte Parker. I feel like Davonte Parker hurts Gesicki more than it will hurt Waddle. So I'm going to take Waddle.
That one.
And then I'll go with Ayuk just because no Deebo Samuel. I still like Terry McLaurin, but I think Ayuk with no Deebo Samuel there is going to see possibly what he was at the end of last year. You know what I mean? Like that high teen to 20 possibility of an upside there.
And if I'm not wrong, because I saw this last week, he does average 21.5 points when Deebo is not in the lineup. So
and I believe that.
Yeah, that's a good start. He's not bad. He's just in the doghouse. And Kyle Shanahan came out and said, "Hey, listen, like we kind of got him back to where he was." They both agreed that he got out of the doghouse. He was, what he was earlier, but now he's back. Like this is time.
I think I saw some reports too. They were I think it was conditioning. Like I think he kind of slacked off on that, and they just didn't like it. So it wasn't even like he was doing much wrong. It was just that he was kind of out of shape. Is from what I heard. I could be wrong with that too.
I like it. James Caramana messages for Chris. How about them Cowboys? Saints stink. Taking victory laps versus Saints team that's missing pretty much everyone. Typical Cowboys fan. Burkhead or Scott, half point PPR. I like Burkhead in this spot. Scott was a DNP all week pretty much. Just with an illness, Miles Sanders is off the injury report. They are facing the Jets, who lets the most points to the running back on the season so far. So the matchup is right. I just don't know if he'll see the volume compared to Burkhead, what Burkhead's going to get with David Johnson possibly out. So I like Burkhead, especially in the half-point PPR format there.
It's ugly, but I have to agree. I have to agree. I mean, I you know how I feel about the Eagles backfield. I can never get it right. It's literally like a scratch off. I either win $1 or I win nothing, and I won nothing with these scratch offs. I'm going Burkhead. I do think David Johnson, if he's not going to be out, he's going to be one of those. He's not out. He gets 2 carries a game, kind of a thing. So I hate to say it, and it's ugly, but Rex Burkhead's the guy.
Yeah, I think I saw something this morning that said Johnson's likely to not play at this point.
Yeah.
So I'd take Burkhead as well. He seems like he's going to be that clear lead role. I mean, they have Scotty Phillips there, I believe, so he might see some. But David Johnson out, I'll take Burkhead over a guy that, like you said, didn't practice all week, and you never know. It's a dice roll. Are they going to finally give Sanders 15-plus carries? Are they going to let Gardner Minshew throw it all over the yard? Like, what's it going to be? So,
but if they do, so say Gardner Minshew comes out, gives Miles Sanders, say 20 carries, he has over 80 yards. Minshew has like a good game. Do you maybe start Minshew one more week? Like if he does good this week, what do you do going forward? Because Hurts hasn't been the most prolific passer. He's been more of the rushing. He's gotten the garbage time stuff. But like if Minshew comes out there, slings the rock, gets the guys what they got to get, is he a guy you want to consider starting maybe next week if he does that good?
I think they're on bye next week, so I'm going to say no.
So let's say the week next.
But the week after, possibly. I personally wouldn't. I think they've seen enough on Gardner Minshew with Jacksonville tape to like kind of know what they have. They can see him in-house. They'll see what he works with this team. But I think they want Jalen Hurts to be the guy. And if Jalen Hurts isn't the guy, I think with what they have for draft capital, they will take a shot at like Corral, Pickett, whoever falls to them in the draft, or they'll try and move up if they really like one of these guys. So for me, I think it's just let Jalen Hurts play, see what he is. You know what I mean? Let him kind of learn because he's really your guy of the future. I feel like Gardner Minshew was just let's secure a backup that kind of has traits closer to Jalen Hurts than Joe Flacco did. So you don't have to change your offense too much when one goes down. But I could be wrong. Maybe they really like Gardner Minshew. But I would stick with Hurts just if he's healthy. But
yeah, I agree there. Speaking of Pickett, that fake slide yesterday.
Oh my God.
Unreal. If you guys haven't seen the fake slide, go check out. I don't know if it should be a penalty or I don't know how I feel about it in that sense, but the fake slide run to the touchdown was beautiful, man.
It's like the Madden dead leg, you know, when you hit that right stick back, that dead leg, and it's just everyone starts going flying. I loved it. I watched it like 6 times.
It was a great move.
It's impressive. It's very smooth. Like it's like he leans and everything. Like he gets the lean back. Like he's gonna start
drags
to slide.
The foot.
Drags. Like it was legit. Like you can't argue. It was
too.
Full speed. It looked great. And then you have to sit there and think like, should it be a penalty? Because you watch the defenders, they just stop running. So
exactly.
But now are you like, if you're condoning that, like how many quarterbacks are going to get popped because they're not going to hold up now on slides because they're going to be like, well, what if he fakes it? You know,
slippery slope. I think we're going to pull it up here. Here it is.
Look at him. Look at Daniel Jones 2.0.
Moving.
Right.
Here it comes.
And
See you later. Yeah, it's a slippery slope, and slippery slopes are something that you don't really want to go down considering player safety.
It's like a hurdle,
but man,
you don't want to do it.
Here's the question though: do we see it in the NFL this year?
One time, I think like Lamar Jackson type of player, like Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson kind of guys can do it. But if I see Tom Brady or like someone else try that crap, nah, it's not gonna work out just like that worked out.
I could see Josh Allen.
Yeah. You know, see Josh doing that.
What if Gardner does it today? You never know. I could see Gardner doing it.
If he does that, you're gonna be a smart man.
Yeah. Okay, I got a question for you, Jeremy. Reading through your start sits for this week on yards per fantasy, you have Pat Freiermuth as a start, which I love. The absence of Ebron rest of the season and the target share. The Muth will have fantasy owners wishing they joined the Friars Club earlier, but knowing what Pitts is and the type of player that he is, and seeing what Pat Freiermuth can do, who's your pick for the kind of like tight end one out of the two? Who would you rather have in like a dynasty format?
So here's how, when I came into the year, like how I ranked them, it was still Pitts was 1, Freiermuth was 2, and Breven Jordan was 3. Yeah. But for me, Freiermuth was a key like value play. Do you know what I mean? Like for me, I will take Freiermuth at his value. It depends on how much he skyrockets next season. But Pitts is obviously the clear one. Like he's just way more athletic. He does more things that would lend to fantasy viability long term. Freiermuth is kind of like Heath Miller 2.0. Like he's just really good at getting open. He has sure hands. He doesn't drop anything in the red zone. And that's great for Ben Roethlisberger and an offense that moves the ball. However, like the quarterback situation there, I don't know how that's going to go. And I just don't think the athleticism's necessarily there for Freiermuth to be I really want this. Like Pitts is a freak. Like he just like athletically and everything he does is just freakishly good. And right now he's suffering from Calvin Ridley having to step away at the moment. And he's really the option. So he's getting guys like Lattimore. He's getting like top corners covering him. He's not getting those matchups like that, say Travis Kelce or Waller or them get, because there is no outside threat really there. And that offensive line, there's no real run game threat. I mean, Cordell Patterson's kind of having himself a year, but it's just like not like it's not a traditional offense. So right now, I think that's what you're seeing. He's a rookie trying to learn all this on the fly, not really having anybody to guide him necessarily with Ridley, like probably not even in the facility. So I like Pitts long term. I think he's proven enough to me that he's gonna be good. And he's just more athletic, but I don't hate Freiermuth because of the discount. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's there.
I gotcha. I'll take that.
But I'm not reaching for Freiermuth. I'd rather reach for Pitts.
For Pitts, yeah. Now that's the kind of boat that I'm in. I'm on the fantasy Twitter, and everyone's they got Freiermuth over Pitts, and I was just like, I gotta be missing something here. I just don't see it. Might be Foster Moreau with the absence of Darren Waller, or Dallas Goddard with Gardner Minshew. Do you like one over the other? I still think it's Goddard there, right?
That's the exact face I made.
Yeah, I kind of want Foster Moreau, I think, just because Waller, not saying that Waller's a system tight end, but like just that offense, the way that Gruden had it set up before he left was kind of like really tight end friendly. It just always has been, no matter who the tight end is. And Moreau has always kind of put up, like, I believe it in every game Waller's missed, he's almost had double-digit points. So I'm just going to take that safety. Dallas Goddard. I think Minshew is like going to kind of throw it all over the yard, but I'm also afraid that they just say, all right, here, Miles Sanders, get 25 touches.
Run the ball, yeah.
So I'll take Moreau just on the pure fact that I think he's going to be a little bit safer and carries just as much upside in the tight end position.
And they don't have a clear receiver one like Zay Jones, Bryan Edwards. Like no one's really there to like say, "Hey, this is my boy." Like and Foster, like you said, he's been nice. And this is the week of the handcuff. Like week 13 is handcuff week. Like it's crazy.
Good way to put it. All right, before we let you go, we got one more question for you. Here at the U, we have rolled out a game-changing app feature called Takes, where you're going to be able to use the points that you have collected on the app to buy into other people's takes or promote your takes and eventually cash out on those points. Jeremy, what is your week 13 money-making take? If you had to put one out there on the app, what would it be?
Oof. Man, you should give me a little notice on this. I would have thought of a better one.
I know Stefan's got Javonte Williams finishing as the RB1 on the season. Some of the stuff that I got on there, it's a hot take, but it's Elijah Mitchell finishes as the top scorer in RB1. He surpasses Najee Harris there. It's definitely hot. He's 60 points behind in half-point PPR scoring. But, I mean, it's possible. We still got a few weeks left there. But you got one for us?
Let's go with that. Sorry, I'm thinking. Give me a second.
Oh, no worries. Know your Bills guys, but the weather.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say Josh Allen finishes as a QB1 this week.
I like it.
It's not super hot, but you would think, he's been up and down. We'll go with it.
Yeah, definitely a money-making take.
Spicy, but
no, it doesn't have to be spicy at the end of the day. But it's definitely a take that I would buy into. Just the fact with the weather, he's probably going to rush the ball a ton.
That's what I'm thinking.
Josh Allen to do. So definitely
we saw the Patriots give up 200 yards on the ground.
Yep.
They ain't giving it to Singletary. So
does he have a 100-yard rushing game though? Maybe.
Who? Josh?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a 100-yard rushing game in a long time. That could be spicier.
I like that one better. We'll go with that. Josh has 100 yards rushing.
I like it a lot. Jeremy, thank you for joining us at the U. We appreciate your time, brother. Good luck. Week 13. The floor is yours. Let the viewers know where they can find you. Let them know what you got going on, either inside fantasy football, outside fantasy football. The mic is hot. It's yours, big guy.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter at PopesFFH. I'm always open to answer questions, anything from Dynasty to some Devy stuff. I'm going to start punching out a lot of player profiles and threads and stuff on guys coming out this year. So if you're getting ready for your rookie drafts already early like me, because my Dynasty season was injury-ridden. But yeah, there, Sports Gambling Podcast Network, I have a lot of my writing over there. And I do, like you had mentioned, a weekly start sit over at Yards Per right now. I'll probably push some more stuff out there as well in the offseason. So
awesome, man. Thank you for your time. Go check out Jeremy at Popes FFH, and he's gonna help you out, man. His Twitter is electric. I like what he's got going on there especially with the Devy stuff. I'm a big Devy player. So I'm definitely following Jeremy. Thank you for your time and good luck this week, brother.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on, and good luck to you too as well.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Appreciate you. Some good stuff there, some good insight into week 13, which is a big week. We cannot stress it enough. We are going into week 14 next week, and then the playoffs start. Hopefully your league does it right, and the playoffs start on week 15.
Yes.
Steph, let's get into our start sits. If you guys like what you see and like the stream, subscribe to the channel. Drop your questions in. We'll be answering them all as we go through. Don't hesitate. We appreciate the support of all of you. But Steph's got some big starts. He's got some big sits this week. I like this first one. I love this first one. I'm rostering him where I can. I'm plugging them in, and I'll let you drop the name, brother. I'll let you do it.
Brennan Ayuk.
With the drop of the
It's
pencil.
finally here. Like, it's the Davonte Williams week. It's the Ayuk week. Like, again, I'm not praising the injuries, but I'm loving the upside. Like we said earlier, this guy has averaged 21.5 fantasy points per game without Deebo Samuel. He's not a rusher. He's seen a few rushes. He had a few good rushing games last year. But I mean, his last 5 games, he had 4, 6, 3, 7, and 3 targets. Over 75 yards in 3 of the last 5 games and 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
This is the week I project him to go for 680 and a touchdown.
Ooh.
There's no one else. Sherfield's not going to be the receiver. It's going to be the Kittle, Ayuk, Elijah Mitchell, and a sprinkle of Jeff Wilson. But this is it. He's receiver 1. There is no one else that has the skill set outside of Deebo Samuel on that team that can outmatch Brandon Ayuk. I mean, we saw last year that the second half of the season he was a baller. It seems like again this year he doesn't want to perform the first half, so he's like, you know what? Deebo, enjoy your little half run. I'll come back in the second half of the season and I'll do what I do. This man is going to be electric this week. They're going to be playing, I think, more pass. They are a heavy run, like a run team, but Ayuk, Kittle have to eat. So, like I said, I think it's a 6 for 80 and a tutty game for him. I think he's top 5, top 10 receiver of the week, and I am loving this week so much because Ayuk, Javonte, we got some Madison, we got some Gibson. Like, this is the week that we waited for weeks ago. These big name guys that are supposed to do well, that underperformed, finally woke up, finally got whatever was out of their head, and they finally started playing football.
Yeah.
So, Ayuk, please do not let me down. I am one of your biggest advocates. It was Cordero Patterson and it's Brandon Ayuk. These are the 2 guys all season long. I'm like, I know it. It's going to happen. They're going to start doing good, and this is it. This is it for me.
I love it. I love the take. I'm starting Ayuk where I got him. Big start for the week for me is running back from the Chicago Bears, David Montgomery. For me, it's just weather is going to play a factory in this game. They're calling for heavy rain, 40 to 45 degree temperatures, high winds. I think the run game is going to be utilized on both sides of the ball. He's soaking up an 83% of the team's rushing attempts, and he's running a route on 63% of the team's offensive snaps, which is good for the 4th highest in the league at the position. David Montgomery is due for a big breakout here in a positive game script matchup versus the Cardinals, who are allowing the 11th most fantasy points to the running backs over the past 4 weeks. The Cardinals have allowed 6 100+ running back rushers throughout the season. So just about half of their games, they've allowed some big numbers to the running back. He is 2nd amongst RBs in snap share, 5th in opportunity share. He is a big part of the Bears offense, and this is a perfect game for him to explode. My week 13 projection for David Montgomery: 18 carries, 110 yards, and a touchdown, 4 catches, 30 yards. Ooh. Good enough for 20.5 half-point PPR points. David Montgomery is gonna ball out. Kyler is back. He is going to be behind center for the Cardinals. DeAndre Hopkins is also going to be in the game, but with a limited role. So maybe fire up your Christian Kirk there if you got him. We got a sit for you guys. One of Stefan's big sits of the week. Running back out of the Kansas City Chiefs. And it's not Darrell Williams. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Why are we sitting Clyde?
Oh man. Okay, I know he scored. He had 2 100-yard games this year, but this is not Clyde that we're used to. Like, I know it's the second year, but I don't know if they're gonna be in a position to want to run the ball. I mean, I project Denver to cover the 9.5 point spread. I think that the passing game has to be better for Kansas City. I think Darrell Williams is still a prominent role in that offense. I think you can't just bring in CEH and then go, hey, Darrell Williams, we don't know who you are anymore. That's false. I mean, Darrell Williams made an insane catch against Jonathan Abrams a few weeks ago in Vegas. Like, this guy can catch. CEH is good, but I think it's more of a committee role. I mean, I just don't see him being like a clear 25 touchback. He has an illness. And it's funny because I was on Twitter last night, and I'm watching, I follow Ian Heritage from PFF, and he posted like this picture that had CEH had like a stomach virus exactly week 13, 1 year ago on a primetime game. Like, it was like almost like the simulation broke or like the matrix malfunctioned or something. And I'm like, wait a minute, I saw this last year. But no, it was an up-to-date, injury report. Like, he was sick, whatever. So I just don't trust him. I don't think the volume is going to be there. I do think he gets at least 12 carries. I mean, 12 to 15 carries, 60 to 70 yards. But in half-point PPR and regular PPR, that's not really much. That's, if anything, 9-10 points. I don't think he gets anything out of the backfield catch-wise. I think Darrell Williams has solidified that he's the better pass catcher out of all of them. I don't trust it. I like CEH. I mean, I took him last year in my first round pick, 7th overall. He did well, but like, I don't know if it's just the system he's not comfortable with, if they don't like him. I don't know if he's not having breakfast with Mahomes. I don't know what it is. I just don't trust him. I love the kid. I just don't like what he's producing in that offense. So give me 15 carries, 70 yards, and no touchdown.
I like it. Sit Clyde Edwards-Helaire. For me, I'm sitting wide receiver for the New York Giants. Kenny Golladay. Daniel Jones has been ruled out. Sterling Shepard has been ruled out. Kadarius Toney has been ruled out. And even with all that, I still don't trust starting Kenny G this week, especially. Mike Glennon has been since named the Kenny Golladay if he wasn't. He's been named the starter, which will hurt an already bruised target share for the first year New York Giants. It's been bad for Golladay, who had an opportunity to put up a big game last week versus the Eagles, but just couldn't get it done. We had Steph Small on last week, and she was calling a TD for Kenny Golladay, and it just didn't happen. He had his best day target-wise, but again, just couldn't produce. Now that he's getting the Giants QB2, I'm not expecting a big day, or I'm not expecting to get any better for Kenny Golladay. He is wide receiver 70 for targets on the season with 40. He's averaging 5 per game while only averaging 2.7 receptions per game. And that outlook for positivity just isn't there. He is more bust than boom and is expected to be shadowed by Xavier Howard with no touchdowns on the year as of yet for Golladay. I don't see it happening this week. My week 13 projection, 3 catches, 27 yards. I got an exact number on that. How confident I am on Kenny Golladay this week. I think the only Giant I'm excited to watch this week is Saquon Barkley. I'm just hoping that he can turn the corner and give us the production for where we drafted him at. I'm really hoping for that, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen with that Giants offense. They're probably just going to stack the box versus the Giants because Mike Glennon, he's not a prolific passer, man. He's not a prolific passer at all. Your next start, I'm excited. I roster him a lot. I was high on this guy coming into his rookie year last year. He's got no JD McKissick. I think he's going to get a heavy workload. That's Mr. Antonio Gibson, running back for the Washington football team. Why are we starting Antonio Gibson with no JD?
So it's funny because whenever he sees at least 15 carries, he's a stud. He's like RB1. Last week he had 29 carries, 7 catches. Yeah, like there you go. Like that's ridiculous. This is Run DMC. This is the guy we wanted. Where were you the last 7 weeks? like I said, these guys that were no shows, guys that we drafted so high. Like, this guy is a guy you draft in like the second round, and you're expecting crazy numbers. Well, you know what? Even with McKissic in or out, I think they finally got their stuff together. I think it's finally time for Run DMC to run that running back room. I think it's time that he finally gets the touches. And like I said, when he gets over 15 touches, he's a great back. Anything under that, he's a dud. But the last 3 weeks, he had 29, 19, and 24. Last week he had 29 carries, 111 yards, 7 catches, 7 targets for 35 yards. That's like Christmas before Christmas for me. Like that was a Monday night. That was like a Monday night like miracle. Like I had him in a Yahoo league. He did exactly what I needed him to do. I had DK Metcalf and Antonio Gibson, and I was like, okay, give me 8-9 points. But like Gibson just carried the whole workload, got me the dub, and I'm confident with J.D. McKissic out, and the Northeast is being hampered with this bad weather. There's no way you don't give Run. I'm gonna call him Run DMC the whole entire year now. So there's no Antonio Gibson. It's Run DMC for me. I think he does it. I think he continues this hype train. I think he finally gets back to what he was. I project him 25 carries, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, 6 catches on 9 targets, and I'll go 0.4. You know, I'm not too confident on a receiving touchdown, but when there's no one else, I don't trust Patterson, and I think they brought up Wendell Smallwood, a former Eagles player, and you know how I feel about those Eagles players, so don't give me any part of him. I'm not going to go into that, but I think Run DMC is back. I'm finally happy. I traded for him in a league. I traded Waller for Schultz and Gibson, and if you didn't get Gibson or if you held on to Gibson, if you have him still, be happy because this is exactly what you need. And their schedule going forward is not the worst. They play Philadelphia twice. They play, I think, Dallas twice, right? So that right there, the next 4 games is a great workload for him. And I don't know how long McKissic's out for, but even if he does come back, I still think that Run DMC is the guy to go with. I think going forward, there's no one else that you want to start in that backfield but him. Stash McKissic because you never know what happens in fantasy, but he's back. This is it. The ugly names are starting to turn the corner, and it's finally becoming real fantasy football. 13 weeks later.
Right when you need it the most, though, right?
Exactly.
That's what you like to see. Kevin Clark, should I play James Robinson, who is questionable, versus the Rams, Damian Harris, or Ramondre Stevenson versus the Bills? Both in negative matchups. But I mean, the Robinson stuff kind of got me scared with him this week, even though if he plays, I'm not too sure the workload that he's going to get. And then Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson versus the Bills. I'm going to lean towards this is a tough one, man. I'm going to lean towards Damian Harris there just with the weather expected it's in Buffalo or is it in New England?
No, it's in Buffalo. It's in Buffalo.
In Buffalo, so I'm expecting a heavy run game for the Pats to keep the Bills off the field. Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson could both see good days. I just think Damian Harrison, out of the 3, sees the better day.
Yeah, and Chris, you know how I feel about the whole injury situation for me. I don't really like it. I mean, he's been injured the last, I think, was it 4 weeks? I don't know what's going on.
It's been up and down, yeah.
So, I mean, I love the guy. James Robinson, I was a big advocate for him. Damian Harris, too, I think he's good. But to be honest, I think this is kind of Ramondre Stevenson's territory to take that rock because he's been, without a doubt, the more explosive runner. He's been more like the heavy hitter. Like, I would rather tackle Damian Harris than I would Ramondre Stevenson. That's just the guy is a tank. I've seen him run over grown men that make millions and millions of dollars. And like this guy's a rookie. Like he's just coming into the league like, all right, watch what I can do. I think going forward next year he'll be more the guy. Yeah. But I think in Orchard Park with that weather, I think Stevenson has a slightly better game because he's more of a powerful and like I think big bulk kind of like heavy carry kind of a guy. Harris is good, but I don't those injuries keep piling up and every week it's something and Ramondre, I think, is just healthier, and I'm more confident in Ramondre this week. I love James Robinson, I do, but I'm scared of injuries. I'll admit it. I'd rather play someone else that's on the waiver wire than know that my guy's going to get me 5 carries, and I'm going to be yelling at the TV like, where's James Robinson? Oh, my God, why is Carlos Hyde running the ball? So that's my hot take on that one.
Yep. Thanks for the question. My wide receiver start for the week is, and this one's a little historical because there's a lot of history with this guy versus the Houston Texans. It's wide receiver T.Y. Hilton. I'm looking for history to repeat itself versus Houston. He always balls out. 101 catches, 1,798 yards, and 11 TDs. It's TY time for the Indianapolis Colts. He averages 5.3 receptions, 94 yards, and pretty much a TD for his illustrious career versus the Texans. The Texans are allowing the 12th most fantasy points to the wide receivers for the 2021 season. It's a must-win matchup for the Colts to stay alive in that playoff race as well. 6 to 8 targets isn't unrealistic as he's coming off his highest usage in terms of playing time this past week versus the Bucs, where he caught 1 TD. He's getting back into that game shape. TY could easily provide a floor that you will need to cover buys this week. So if he's on your waivers, maybe go pick him up, plug him in, and get him into your lineups. I'm expecting TY, as always, to have a big day versus the Houston Texans. Week 13 projection, 5 catches, 70 yards, and I originally had 50-50 chance for a touchdown, but I'm going to go 5 catches, 70 yards, and a tutty for T.Y. Hilton. Thank you, T.Y. I'm looking forward to seeing you absolutely wreck the Houston Texans this week. Again, Jonathan Taylor's going to have a day. Michael Pittman's probably going to have a day, but I like the history here. I like what he does versus the Texans, so I'm plugging in T.Y. Hilton. Another sit, you got Darrell Henderson, Rams running back. It's just not looking good for him, but give us some more insights, Stefan. Why should we start Darrell Henderson, who's been steady? He's been steady, but why should we sit Darrell Henderson?
So when we do these starts or sits, I usually do them on Wednesdays to Thursdays.
Yeah,
so like I saw that he was trending downwards in the beginning of the week because Darrell Henderson's a guy who, when he does get injured, he does tend to not play the week of the injury. Like he doesn't really power through it, and he's not really a guy who's going to get you like 15 to 20 carries. Like Will said last week on Better Fantasy, like this guy had an average of 14.5 rush total. Like he's not a workhorse back, so like I don't trust him regardless, really. And now this injury really just kind of like doubles down on that. I mean, I think Michelle gets more of the workload. I think it's more of a passing game too. Henderson's a good guy, but I just don't like what he's producing because I want a guy who gets 30 carries, 25 carries, and 14.5 carries per game. And then this injury, even if he does play, I don't like it. I'm not even giving him a stat line because I don't think he plays enough to even like deserve a stat line. It's not, no disrespect to the guy. I think he's he's a good player for the Rams. He's what they want, until Cam Akers comes back. But he just, to me, he's not doing it. I don't like it. I'm staying far away from him. I wanted him in a few drafts, but this reason right here, the little injuries here and there scare me. And like I keep saying, injuries for players, I'm not gonna trust him. So sit Henderson. Don't even worry about it. If you got to find someone else, I hope someone on the waiver wire is there. If you have someone else that's better, like a flex, you can flex someone else, a receiver, even a tight end. Like I don't want to say that confidently, but I just really, really don't like Henderson this week. And it's not because I knew he wasn't going to play. It's just if he was going to play, I know he was going to be useless. So
yeah. And I think the Rams are going to be looking for that injection of confidence. They've been down the past couple weeks, and it's a perfect matchup. Or it's a trap game versus the Jaguars here. But I just think that, they're going to come out. They're going to look for that confidence boost. They're going to be looking for blood. They're going to want to put up big numbers. I don't see the running game as a whole being that great for the Rams this week just because they're going to want to air out the ball. They're going to show what they can do, what they're capable of through the air. Cooper Kupp's going to have a day. The wide receiver 2, whoever is going to be, is going to have a day. Tyler Higbee might even have a day. So I definitely don't hate this sit. Even if he was playing, I technically wouldn't really hate the fact that you would sit him here just because the Rams, I mean, they need that confidence game to get back on the up and up in terms of NFL teams, because lately it has not looked good for the Rams offense.
Also, Jacksonville's not the worst run defense. So, their pass defense, whatever, you can pass all over them, which I think the Rams will, and Cooper Kupp has a 100-yard game. But run-wise, I mean, if you look at the stats, not many rushers have had great successful games, and especially a guy who doesn't touch the ball that many times. Like, it's kind of like set in stone that he's not going to do good. Even if he was 100% healthy, I would still sit him. So I'm not a hater of you, Henderson. I do like you. I just don't like you this week.
Yeah, I like it. I'm going to go on the other side of the field there for my sit of the week. Wide receiver Laviska Shenault. It's a negative matchup versus the Rams team that is going to, like I said, going to be looking for blood. This is not going to be a game for PETA to watch, as we might see a flaying of a Jaguar on live TV. Another player who's been thrust into opportunity, but unable to grasp any real relevance for fantasy owners. I am not expecting a good day for Mr. Shenault, who has only surpassed 33 yards once this season, and it was only for 50 yards. He is the 100th ranked wide receiver in average depth of target, so it'll be more on him to produce for you. And given the fact that he has run less routes than Laquan Treadwell and James O'Shaughnessy last week, Laviska has been and will continue to be a bust wide receiver this year, playing most of his snaps out of the slot, which most likely will draw a ton of attention from Jalen Ramsey, who ranks 6th in yards allowed to the position. My week 13 projection for Laviska Shenault for 40 yards, 6.5 half point PPR points. So a dud of a day for Laviska Shenault.
It's disappointing, man.
It really is, man. Some of these guys that we were expecting at the beginning of the season to have decent years. I mean, he got Trevor Lawrence there, new coaching staff. I mean, I had a real positive outlook for Laviska with the Urban Meyer coaching staff there. I was really hoping.
That's exactly how I am. Oh my God, that's literally me right there.
That was exactly what I was just saying. And it's true though. Like it says here, you're expecting him to take that Percy Harvin, Curtis Samuel role in that offense, but he just couldn't get it done. When Jamal Agnew was in there, the guy was lighting it up. He was making the plays. He was getting the yards after the catch. But Laviska is just not doing that. And I don't see him doing it, especially this week versus the Rams defense. But enough of that. Another start for you. Another guy who's been thrust into opportunity due to injury. It's running back Minnesota Vikings, Alexander Madison.
Don't give me that negativity.
Alexander Madison is expected to have a big day, and Stefan is going to tell you why you should plug him in to your lineups.
Detroit Lions. That's it.
That's it, eh? That's it.
No,
that's it for the analysis. His notes just says Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions. I mean, what else do you want? What else do you want from me guys? I mean, the last time he actually played a full game without like Dalvin Cook there was against Detroit. And you know what he had last time? 25 carries, over 100 yards, and if I'm not mistaken, he had 7 catches on 7 targets. 40 yards and a touchdown. Like,
nice.
The 2 games that he played a full workload, he's averaging 26 carries a game. He's averaging 6.7 catches a game. He's averaging 47.5 receiving yards, and he's averaging 0.5 touchdowns. Like, that screams like start me now. Like, it's the worst team in the NFL. This team doesn't care to win a game. They will win every game they have to win. They're going to lose. Every game they have to, they're just going to lose. I have nothing positive about the Lions, and I like the Lions. Like, that was my team years ago. But when you get disappointed, when you see teams just have their way with the Lions, you just know that whoever they play will do well. And Alexander Madison, if he was on any other team as the running back 1, he'd be a stud. But every time Dalvin Cook decides to take a day off or whatever, this guy is a stud. It's the numbers are in the bread pudding. It's there. Like, this guy is an RB1, and he's gonna have. If Javonte Williams wasn't my guy for the week, this is my RB2 top scorer of the week, and I think he has 2 touchdowns, 25 carries again, because he can manage 25 to 30 touches a game easily, and I think he breaks at least 110 rushing yards. Give me 5 catches, 40 yards, no touchdown receiving wise. But again, 1.5 rushing touchdowns. So
I like it.
I do see him having a huge game. I don't want to give him as a sleeper start because no one's sleeping on the guy. Like you drafted him week 1 for what he's doing now, what he did week 5, what he did week 3. Like, this is why you have Alexander Madison.
Yeah.
And he's going to go out there and he's going to give you what you deserve. And that's a 22-point PPR game.
Book it. Book it. Print it out. I like it. I love the take. I love the stat line there. Ryan Potts, have you ever started a fullback in fantasy? I'm guilty of this. I have started Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Juszczyk from the San Francisco 49ers. Only out of desperation. I think he got me like 5 points, but either way, I mean, if there's a fullback to start in the league, it's use, right? I mean, it's got to be Kyle Juszczyk. They use him a lot in that offense. I think it was that moment where a bunch of the 49ers running backs were down. And so he saw, I think, like 3 catches or something like that. But I have started a fullback. I mean,
your balls
gotta show them love. You gotta show them love, man. My next start of the week, tight end, Noah Fant of the Denver Broncos. The Chiefs surrender the 7th most points to the tight end on the season, and Denver is expected to be playing catch up after the Chiefs come out after their bye, trying to get an offense that has been anemic to wake up. So I'm expecting kind of a shootout here. Still think Javonte Williams is going to have a big day. He's going to be very involved in that Denver offense because they're going to want to keep the Kansas City Chiefs off the field, and Javonte is the type of player that's going to be able to do that for them. But a little bit on Noah Fant. He's 5th in red zone targets for the tight end position with 13, 9 receptions. So something has to give in that Broncos offense with the passing game, and it just might be Noah Fant. He's 7th in receptions at the position. He's 7th in team target share, carrying an 87% snap share opportunity. It's gonna come. It's gonna come. I'm guessing I'm predicting this week for Noah Fant. He has 4 finishes as a tight end 1 on the season. The usage is there, but he hasn't been able to get consistent with the scoring. Only 3 TDs on the season, which has kind of dragged down his value. But again, the usage is there. Kansas City's not the greatest versus the position, and he's getting one in this game. I'm calling it. My week 13 projection for Noah Fant, 4 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown. So not a prolific game, but in a season where the tight ends have been absolutely atrocious, other than the top chunk of guys, Noah Fant, that's a serviceable day for a starting tight end in your fantasy lineups. That's 13.5 half-point PPR points on the week. We got a couple more sits, then we're going to get into a little bit of our spicier stuff here, the stuff that I really enjoy talking about. You're sitting, which is surprising. When I saw this one, I was kind of surprised that you're sitting this guy, given the fact that DeAndre Swift is out and knowing what the Detroit Lions can't do passing, but can do running the ball. But you're sitting running back Jamal Williams.
Oh, it's not easy. I mean, it's just not easy because he's not going to do well. I mean, it's not easy for him to have a good day. I know it's like, oh, well, DeAndre Swift's out. Yes, I get that. But you have to understand that it's going to be the Minnesota Vikings know that that's the only guy on that team that they have to stop. Hawkinson will put a linebacker on him, but like Jamal Williams, like all other 10 players are just going to go funnel into Jamal Williams. There's no one else outside of them. I mean, Josh Reynolds, don't give me that. Amon St. Brown, I love the guy, but you know what? I don't want him anymore. Hawkinson, he's not been, that guy, but a tight end is a tight end, and then they get anything over 7 points. It's like, oh my God, he's great. Jamal Williams gets the value. I think he does get 13 carries, and that's value for him, but I just think they're going to be down. I think that after Madison runs, through that entire team, that entire state of Michigan, that it's just going to be a bad day for Jamal. I don't expect him to get a touchdown. I do think 13 carries, 50 yards. He will get some volume, but I just don't think that he's going to produce with that volume. I think they're going to just, they know they have to shut him down, Hawkinson, and whoever else he's throwing the ball to, because they're not going to get over 200 yards passing. That's just how Detroit goes. So if it's easier to funnel in on one player than it is to, say, go against another team that has 4 or 5 weapons that you have to cover. So Jamal, as much as I want to say he's going to do good because he's the running back, I just don't think he's going to produce. I don't think the volume it's going to be like a high volume thing, but I don't think he's going to do anything with that volume. I think he's going to have a subpar game, and I think we're overhyping him because it's like, oh, DeAndre Swift. He's not DeAndre Swift. He's nowhere near DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift is like Alvin Kamara of 2017. Like, this guy is leading the running backs in every stat. He's leading the team in receptions, yards, all that. You name it. Jamal Williams, you're good, but there was a reason you were a backup, and no offense to Aaron Jones and, say, A.J. Dillon last year. Like, they know what they have in Jamal Williams, and it's not like a 25 carry back.
Yeah.
So that's my little like two cents worth of that. I'm just sick of the Detroit Lions and what they do every week to everybody that roots for them and everyone that has high hopes for them. And I don't have any high hopes for Jamal Williams or that offense this week.
Yeah, I agree. I like
Detroit.
I like the little graphic here. Today is National Zero RB Committee Day.
Yes.
A bunch of top names that are most likely out. I haven't heard the Darrell Henderson news yet. I don't know if there's word on that, but I still don't see him having a good game. So my QB sit of the week, which usually goes the other way for me. So it's Russell.
Guy.
Yeah, exactly. Just mush this one. Russell Wilson versus the San Francisco 49ers, averaging a 29th best 11.9 fantasy points per game since his return from injury. Mr. Limited has been logging in as PFF's 34th ranked QB. There's 32 teams in the NFL, so let that sink in.
Oh, God,
San Fran is top 10 in limiting fantasy output. That's perfect.
Don't do my boy Tiger like that. Come on.
San Fran is top 10 in limiting fantasy output to opposing QBs over the last 4 weeks. So they've been absolutely shutting the position down. I'm having deja vu with Russ here. Last season, he was untrustworthy down the stretch as well. So the pattern's kind of repeating itself. The finger is still an issue. He's averaging 16.9 fantasy points per game on the season. So it's not numbers that you feel comfortable with just plugging in your starting quarterback. He isn't really rushing the ball either this season. He only has 1 red zone carry, which is a negative for me. I'm not liking that output there. He's 21st in deep ball attempts. The offensive line being one of the bottom 10 in the league just isn't affording Russ the time that he needs for those big play wide receivers to develop in those routes down the field. So I think that's why Freddie Swain has become kind of a thing for him, because he's playing that underneath stuff while DK and Tyler Lockett are kind of stretching the field. My week 13 projection, 200 yards and 1 TD. So not a great day for a quarterback. It's probably going to go the other way for me there. But
I don't know, man.
I'm playing the numbers, and I just haven't seen it. I've liked what San Fran's been doing defensively in this back half of the year. So Russell Wilson after we, yeah, exactly. Jamarcus Russell, man. I always love the Jamarcus Russell story where the coaches have given him the blank tapes, and then ask him if he watched the blitz packages. He's like, yeah, I watched the blitz packages. I mean, every time I see Jamarcus Russell, it just makes me laugh because of the stories out of Oakland at the time.
How are you that bad, man?
Yeah. Prolific coming out of college, but
he could throw 60 yards on his knees, and he couldn't throw anything else.
No. But let's get into our spicier stuff, our hot take stuff. We got some sleeper starts and some bolder sits. Your sleeper start of the week is wide receiver Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. Why should we be starting Michael Pittman coming off a couple bad games, especially last week? Why are we trusting Michael Pittman this week?
He had in 2 games 15 targets, 76 yards, and only 6 catches. So it's like against Tampa, 10 targets. Against Buffalo, which I expect Buffalo, it was the Jonathan Taylor day. Like that was just, I don't really like fault him for that. That was more like, hey, Jonathan Taylor had 4 touchdowns. Like, come on, you can't expect anyone else on that team to produce when your running back has all your points. Yeah, but last week, I know he only had 9.3 PPR full points, but I saw 10 targets, and that to me, it's not like, oh, he's getting 4 catches on 5 targets. When you see 10 targets a game, they're forcing this guy the
You're
ball.
looking for him. Yep.
Exactly. So he's built like a big receiver. He goes up and grabs it. We saw that game against San Francisco that he went up, snagged the rock in the pouring rain. Like, he has hands. He has that breakout ability. And against a 20th pass defense and Houston, I think this screams breakout game for Pittman. Like, you can't go 2-3 straight games and be a dud with it. Like, I know I have Jonathan Taylor breaking his touchdown streak this week, I think, because I personally believe that it's going to be Pittman. Hilton is the owner of the Houston Texans. Like, you look at GM, you're going to see T.Y. Hilton's name slapped all across of it. Yep. And then the co-owner is going to be Michael Pittman. I have him going. It's going to be 7-8 catches. It's going to be 95 yards, and it's going to be the coveted one touchdown that he hasn't had. I think this is why he's my sleeper. He's been sleeping for 2 weeks. He's fully rested. He's got his beauty sleep. He's good to go. And this is going to be it. This is the game you go, wow, this is what Michael Pittman is. And I think what Houston being as forgiving as they are, they're not going to stop him. Like, come on. They have one of the best offensive lines. Who's going to pressure Carson Wentz on that defensive line? I can't name one defensive lineman on that team right now. Like, that's how bad they are. If they were any worse, they'd be the Detroit Lions, but they're not, and they're one above the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, they got a better QB there.
That's the only thing that's better. And Brendan Cooks is – I love Brendan Cooks. Yeah, I feel bad that guy is like in jail. So
I like it. So sleeper start for Stephon, Michael Pittman, fire him up. My sleeper start of the week is wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers. Juwan Jennings, the 6'3", 210-pounder, is looking to take over the slot wide receiver role, left vacant by Deebo Samuel, who's out due to a groin injury. The status, they're saying 1 to 2 weeks for Deebo, so he may be back next week or he may not. But you want Deebo for your playoff run, right?
Yes, you do.
The Seahawks, they've led up the second most fantasy points to the slot wide receiver. So that's another reason why he's a bit of a sleeper start for me. 3 targets last week, 2 in the end zone, 1 TD called back. So he could have even had a bigger day. In his first 7 games, he averaged 6 offensive snaps per game. But over the last 3 games, that share has jumped up to 30 snaps per game. He's building some chemistry with the quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm expecting Jennings to have a decent outing versus Seattle, who has been struggle bus as of late, especially versus that slot wide receiver. That's a big reason why I'm comfortable starting Juwan Jennings. If I need the spot start this week, if I need that potential to boom, for me, I like Juwan Jennings in this spot. My week 13 projection, 4 catches, 60 yards, and a tutty. So a decent day for a guy who isn't on many lineups at all. I think we talked about him briefly on our Tuesday episode of the waiver show. So if you're able to get him, put him into your lineup as a flex. I don't like there's a bunch of guys that I would probably start over him, but I think he can be even a sneaky DFS play for some guys who play DFS. So start Juwan Jennings as a sleeper start. We got a question here from Mohammed, Josh Jacobs, DK Metcalf, Jamar Chase, or Brandon Cooks at flex. I mean, you got some good options there, some great options there. I know Jalen Richard's out for the Raiders.
Is Josh Jacobs questionable, right?
Jacobs was questionable. He's expected to play. DK Metcalf's a stud. It's hard to keep him out of your lineup. Same with Jamar Chase. Brandon Cook's been decent, but I don't like the matchup versus the Colts. So for me, it's between Chase and Metcalf, and I'm going to lean towards Metcalf here.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're all scared, and I get it. I get it. He had an abysmal last game. I mean, that whole entire offense was trash. Like, they lost to the Washington football team when that should have been like a 27-point game for Russ and them. But you know what? Metcalf is just that guy that, yes, he had a bad game, but he will bounce back. They're not going to sit there and go 3 games without giving him the ball. He had 2 targets, I think, the entire game last week. Like, that's not going to happen every week. Yeah. I think that DK Metcalf gets the ball. I think they made it a priority to get him the ball because last week, just throw that film out. Don't even look at it. You just know what you did wrong. he has to eat in order for that team to
Don't
score over
miss him.
15.
Yeah, don't miss him in the end zone when he's wide open. You throw
Because
it.
he will burn you if you do.
Yeah. James Walsh. I have Kelsey at tight E and Lamb and Goddard at wide receiver and Eckler at running back. Very nice. With Cook out this week, need a flex PPR, Gronk or Renfro. Thanks, guys. I mean, I'm leaning Renfro here. In the PPR league, I'm leaning Renfro. The guy's been a steady producer the past couple weeks in that Raiders offense that is missing that decent, good wide receiver that they can count on. And with the Waller injury, I think Renfro can definitely be the guy for you this week over Gronk. So give me Renfro. I know Gronk didn't practice a lot during the week, just mainly due to rest. But I'm going with Renfro here.
Yeah, I think I am too. I think that this game in Atlanta is going to kind of be a slaughter fest. I don't see the Bucs, coming out there and keeping it close. And with that said, I think Gronk is not going to be like that high target guy because everyone's like, oh, he had 8 targets last week, 100 yards. Like he had a good game, but I think Renfro is the only guy on that team that knows Derek Carr because there's no Waller, there's no one else really outside of them besides Zay Jones, Bryan Edwards, and Hunter Renfro. And I would go Hunter Renfro as receiver 1. I would even put him as my receiver 2 for the week. Like he's been nothing short of good, of amazing almost. I mean, he's like I keep referencing it. Wes Welker, Edelman to Tom Brady, like he is to Derek Carr. This is his best friend.
Great route runner, man.
Exactly. And
awesome,
he doesn't look like he's not like that big built 6'4" guy. He's like that short, stocky little white guy that Bill Belichick loves. And Derek Carr, that's his boy. That's like his safety valve, I think, over Darren Waller at this point. Like I think when he looks at his guys, he's like, where's Hunter Renfro first? So I think Renfro is in for another good game. I think the rest of the season-wise, he's going to be a great receiver 2, borderline receiver 3.
I like it. All right, Steph, let's get into our bold sits of the week. I really like your pick here. The guy's been balling out when he's on the field, when he's involved in the passing game. He's launched himself into tight end 1 category. But this week, you're sitting him. Who is it, and why are you sitting this guy?
Okay, so he did have 2 touchdowns on Thanksgiving. He did have 3 catches, though. So, I'm over here saying, oh, God, 3 catches? If you don't hypothetically have 2 touchdowns, you're sitting at a 6.2 fantasy game. But no, he had the 2 touchdowns, of course. Blew up, was the number 1 tight end of the week. I just don't see it this week. I think it's going to be in Orchard Park where the weather's bad. Bill Belichick does nothing but lock down the guy you want to give the ball to. They're going to have J.C. Jackson on Stephon Diggs. They're going to have my boy, God, who is it? They're going to have, I forgot who it was that they have on there. I mean, Hightower's going to stop him, but I just think that Belichick goes into this game like, okay, we know Stephon Diggs. Yeah, Duggar. Thank you.
Duggar's out, I think. Duggar's out. I believe he's out, yeah.
Belichick's going to find somebody to cover this guy because he knows that, okay, like I said, J.C. Jackson, a pick machine is going to be on Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, Emmanuel Sanders, blah. But Dawson Knox is basically the number 2. And when you see this guy had 7 touchdowns this year, Belichick's looking like, not this week. Because what happened in weeks prior? Look at every game New England has played with stud receivers. Go look at their stats. He is statistically known to shut down what works best for your offense. And this guy works best for that offense. It's not Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs does what he does. He's an animal. But if Dawson Knox doesn't have 4 or 5 catches, Josh Allen's not really going to know what to do. And I think this week he locks him down to 4 catches on 50 yards. And I don't trust him. I don't trust him in that weather. I think it's Bill Belichick's looking at it like we know what we need to do. And that defense is good enough to stop him. I think that defense is a really, really underrated defense because they're like, they're Mac Jones could be bad, and then the defense gets on the field more. No, I think Belichick knows what he has, and he knows what he has to do. So going into Orchard Park on Monday Night Football, watch Knox be just completely eliminated and have to go to Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley, Singletary, Matt Breida, and Stephon Diggs. A lot of mouths to feed, but you know what? He knows how to shut down your guy. So if Josh Allen can't find Dawson Knox, don't sit there and get mad at Dawson Knox. Get mad at yourself for starting him in a matchup that you know that's the guy. So I can't stress it enough that when it comes down to your guy in New England, outside of New England, I don't care where you are. If you're playing Bill Belichick, even if it's in the XFL, CFL, the NCAA, he's going to stop your main guy.
Yep.
And that's fully what I expect. So 9 points. I mean, it's tight end, top 10 numbers to get 10 points, 9 points. So in the waistline, that's a good thing. But if you're expecting like a huge game like last week where touchdowns, 7 to 8 catches, 100 yards, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of mouths to feed in Buffalo, and Bill Belichick knows how to take the spoon away.
Exactly.
Keith Bronikowski, Boston Scott, or Davonte Smith, full PPR. Davonte Smith, right?
Yeah.
He's the play there. Yeah.
Not even questionable.
Yep. Good luck, Keith. My bold sit of the week is wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, Mike Williams. I mean, is it bold? Is it really considered bold right now to sit a wide receiver who hasn't finished? Yeah, exactly. Who hasn't finished in the top 30 of fantasy scoring wide receivers since week, I think, 6, more than once. Considering his strong start to the season, Mike Williams has become benchable from almost this point on, especially versus a Bengals team who through the last 4 weeks have given up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to the wideouts. They are stingy and have been stingy for the past quarter block of games here. He isn't getting the volume he once was either, a 16% target share compared to Keenan Allen's 29%, and the quality of target he is getting hasn't been that great either. Weeks 1 to 5, the dude was wide receiver 2. Weeks 6 to 10, do you have a guess where he ranks in wide receivers in weeks 6 to 10?
I think in the bottom half of, like, say, 20s.
Wide receiver 80.
Oh, my.
Between weeks 6 to 10, 80? He's been wide receiver 80. So
what are you doing?
It hasn't been good at all. He has been unstartable pretty much since week 5, and it's a bold sit because of what he is capable of doing. We know what he can do in that offense, but Herbert's just been looking for Keenan Allen a lot lately. His target share matches that of Austin Eckler. I mean, he's, like I said, he's got the 16% target share. Austin Eckler has a 15% target share, and Keenan Allen is almost double that at 29%. Plus, we mentioned at the beginning, it's going to be Keenan Allen wearing the long sleeves. So I'm expecting a big day for Keenan Allen. My week 13 projection for Mike Williams, 4 catches, 45 yards. So not that great.
I like that. I mean,
yep. I'm going to finally hit on one of these bold sits. I can feel it.
Well, think about it. It's like Cooper Kupp and Mike Williams were like going neck and neck.
Yeah.
Like the first few weeks, you're like, oh my God, someone has to stop. And we're not hoping it's Mike Williams, but damn, Mike Williams. Hello, where are you? APB, something, SOS. Like, come back alive. Like, where are you? We need you fantasy wise. Yep. But I like it. I mean, I agree with you. You get out some pretty good facts. I mean, he's got double the share that Mike Williams or Keenan Allen has double the percentage as Mike Williams does. Yep. So it's like, whoa, what the heck?
Ryan Evans, Ertz or Claypool PPR. We know Claypool's going up against Baltimore. I like Ertz in this spot. Something about Ertz with Murray back. He's just screaming to me, start Ertz, start Ertz, start Ertz. But we know what Claypool can do. But I mean, again, weather this time of year becomes a factor.
Yep.
And if Claypool's in one of these bad weather games, what he's projected to be in, Ertz could end up having the better day. So, I mean, as troubling as it is for me to say start another tight end over a wide receiver, I mean, I like Ertz here.
I mean, I do too. It looks like when he was playing with Kyler Murray, he was his favorite target. Like, he had that one game where he had, like, what was it, 28.8 fantasy points in full PPR. I mean, yeah, cool. Chase Claypool has 612 air yards, but what has he done with those yards? Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
What has Ertz done in the 3 games that he's been in Arizona? He's been nothing but a successful trade for them. And I think, like you said, with Kyler Murray back, he's still kind of hobbled with that injury. So I think that safety valve being in the middle, tight end is good. And Hopkins is going to be like that. Hey, I'm Hopkins, come guard me. And then, oh my God, Ertz is up the middle for 25 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like Ertz. And even if you have to flex Ertz, I would flex him. That's the only, there's like a handful of tight ends I would flex. And I'm going to put him in that handful for this week.
Yeah, we know what he can do. We've seen what he's been doing for that Arizona Cardinals offense. So I don't hate that start at all. Stefan, brother, another great episode. Another great week for us, man. Week 13 is here. We're live. Fantasy football is afoot. One of my favorite sayings. But if you guys like what you saw, like the stream, subscribe to the channel, get the uSTADIUM app for all the updates. Takes is live. Get in there, get your points. You'll see our takes on there as well. Weekly takes, rest of season takes, and it goes beyond football. You can have NHL takes, NBA takes. I mean, anything that you think sports-wise, or I don't even know if they do beyond sports-wise, but anything sports-wise, if you got to take on a money-making take or not, you want to buy into someone else's takes, get in on there, because it is electric. I just got note that there is some Spider-Man takes on there. So any of you, Spider-Man's Marvel, right? I don't want to mess this up.
You know what? Now you reminded me now, because I remember a few weeks ago you said you didn't even know what Endgame was.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go to 5 and Below, and I saw it there. I'm gonna send you that for Christmas, and you're gonna watch that movie.
I think the only superhero movie I've really watched has been the first Iron Man, but a long time ago.
I've
never watched the Star Wars. I've never watched any of that stuff. But I got it. I got 3 sons, so I'm expecting it to be I'm playing Pokemon. I never even knew what a Pokemon was before that. So
I love this.
Yeah, it's new to me, which is good. So I get to experience for the first time with my kids. So it's pretty cool. But again, man, some of these references that you got just go right over my head.
I love them when I go on there and I'm seeing, because I'm a nerd. Like in reality, I love it. I love Marvel. I love the comic book stuff. I have that freaking, you're not gonna know what this is, but that glove that they had in an Endgame, I bought that for $80 when it came out. Like that's the stuff I love. And like I said, Splash has Disney Plus is a great way to watch all 23 of those movies in the original.
23.
There are 4 phases, and there's a lot more now, but like that's like movie theater stuff. And I am so excited for that Spider-Man movie. Like, I'm gonna nerd out for a second. I bought tickets like 2 hours at like midnight when they dropped. They're like, oh, and I had to refresh. I bought 2 tickets, great seats, $40 IMAX. Like, I'm ready for this. So please, if you guys have takes on that, go on there. Get my co-host or my host or get him to watch these movies, guys, please, because once he does, you're gonna see how good they are, and then you'll get half the references I'm saying. I know Splash does. So.
Thank you, Krabs Teacher. We appreciate your support, brother. Constant viewer of our streams, man. We appreciate if you're looking to learn how to play craps. He's your guy, man. I'm telling you, he's your guy. That's it for us. Thank you for tuning in. Like the stream, subscribe to the channel, download the apps. Everything you need is in the description. I'm Chris. That's Stefan. As always, we'll see you guys Tuesday. Steph, let them know where they can find you, brother.
You know my DMs on Twitter, Bearschbombs, right here. You can find me on uSTADIUM. I have some crazy takes, but you know what? Take my points. If you think I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if you think I'm right, join me, because if we're right, like Javonte Williams, please. Nuclear week. Give me it. Give the fans what they wanted. Give us all that 25-point PPR game. Give us everything. And if he doesn't, shoot me a DM, talk that smack, give me the brute force or whatever you want to talk, because I will take it all. I will die on the cliff of Javonte Williams this year.
Yeah, if he doesn't go off, fantasy Twitter is going to have an absolute meltdown. That's it for us. Good luck, week 13. Set your lineups, play spoiler if you're out, and we'll see you guys Tuesday.